strategize. We can use Gronk or Claude to have conversations. We can use all these different platforms for all these specialties we want to do. Most of the general buying public, they heard of ChatGPT by this time, but are they using it correctly? And when I say correctly, you can use it any way you want, but the professionals are going to use prompt engineering who know how to interact with that and have it be an asset for you. That those that don't are going to be, like I say, and we've been hearing, they're going to be left behind. Well, when is that going to happen? It's happening right now. And a year from now, we're going to be light years from where we are right now. We had a person that shared on LinkedIn a picture of the prompt they used to have OpenAI do a picture of a family enjoying their 4th of July celebration. And you look at it and go, this is kind of everywhere. They've got fireworks, they've got kids with sparklers, and mothers cutting a watermelon, all this kind of stuff. And they used the same prompt a week ago for the celebration. And the picture looks entirely different. But you can tell it's so much more professional now. And that's just in 1 year. Look at it next year and what it's going to be. Those that wait to learn how to use it, they're left behind already. So
before we jump to thank you so much, Michael. Before we jump to Gary and Doug Reeves, I got to tell you, I think the only analogy that might make sense is you buy an incredible gym for your house, incredible, and you never use it. I won't use the name of the dealership, but I did some training today. Nice bunch of guys. Now, you all know I tend to over exaggerate it for fun, but you all know that I'm not Mr. Tech. I would like to believe I'm Mr. Personality. I'll shake your hand. I'll tell you a joke. You'll like me, but I'm not a tech guy. But you can't turn on LinkedIn and not see Larry Feldman. You can't see a Larry talk or somebody saying what a swell guy I am or all the rest of it.
God, I've tried.
Well, don't give up yet. But here's what scared me. Most of these guys and lady were very young. So I started talking about concrete ways to make a lot of money and sell a lot of cars. Obviously, working service. How much higher your percentage of close and profit goes when you're talking about repeat referral. You guys are all aware. In Virginia, Ohio, California, you're not allowed to write a referral check. In Pennsylvania, you can. In Jersey, you can. I had guys that were basically, their payroll was Larry Feldman every week. Because every week they drag a guy or two in. And I pay him bird dog through the company, and I smear him a little bit on the side. So what? And then when I got to social media, how silly is it for Larry Feldman to be talking about social media? I'm not a social media guy, although I'm everywhere. Almost nobody was using social media. I said, guys, what are you doing? If you're not holding your camera up to your face at least twice a day and talking about the dealership, the product, something that you just traded, what are you doing? So it's interesting. We're making all these tremendous moves forward, but we still need to embrace it. We still need to do it. Now we've seen it work. Jeff, you probably don't know this about me because we've never been in this environment. I hate cigarette smoke. I don't dislike it. I hate it. Remember, I'm a speaker and a singer. Hate it. But when I was a kid, I had to suffer. If you went to the movies, people smoked. Obviously, when my band played, I came out, I smelled like an ashtray. And they beat people over the head with the fact that cigarettes kill you. And guess what? If you go to Europe, at certain countries, they still smoke like fiends, but we've reduced it. You would think at this point, with what we know and how pervasive social media is, that everybody would be on it. So, Michael, it doesn't shock me that people that are always looking for a way to increase sales and relevance would jump all over this, but it doesn't show. I just wanted to spit that out. It just shocked me a little bit today because of how young they were, and you figured they'd be lecturing me instead of the other way around.
Yeah, but
Gary,
Larry, if you go to
Yes.
Europe and you buy a pack of cigarettes, it says right on the label, "Smoke this and it will kill you." And people still buy it.
Yeah, very, very broad, warning signs.
Yeah.
Huge label.
Very-
I
Yeah,
think you have to smoke to go into a casino nowadays, don't you?
Larry,
Yeah,
Here's that
casino. Ooh, yeah, not fun.
You served up, something that keeps on coming forward every day. And you say social media, and that, you know, you're a trainer and you had to learn technology. Well, we're at the stages right now where the dealers that have learned how to merge their websites and their showrooms together have mastered it. And the dealers that brought in BDCs, they still have band-aids. And then the dealers that still want to drive the F&I department as the kings and queens and force customers to come in and force customers to do things that they don't want to do, more and more customers are going to defect to dealers that have made that bridge. And today, with dealers' websites, that's the gate. In and out of the gate of the dealer's website is where they can build campaigns. So as you were saying, you're shaking your head why they're not doing it for social media. You're right, because I'm shaking my head because we're now introducing simple F&I products in to their daily why buy here's. And then they can add that into their social media and create their own first party leads into their own funnels, into their own databases, where they now bypass tons of sources that have been preying, capitalizing, stealing, lying to are these lead generators. So I look at some of these dealers that are really growing, and you watch them. They brought on young men and women that are doing video campaigns on the lot live. They're doing appraisals in the service drive. So any of these really good, smart dealers, they're empowering their people. And we see a bunch of GMs, and they go out and they make funny videos, but boy, are they put into the bottom line, because it's fun to go visit their dealership. It's fun to come in there. So it's time for the dealer to stop listening to OEM and start listening to who their marketing people are that know how to market, and work on the demographics that the dealer wants to work on, not the numbers that the OEM wants to hit. And then more and more creatively is that they, with the technology and tools today, dealers can use a service to craft a video in 3 minutes, and then can be added to a YouTube website that can be now pulled into a email campaign that can be sucked into all of their CRM, sent to their consumer on their database. There's gold in them hills.
I think
Garrett,
that's Mike Larkin's AI generated second person there.
But listen,
I taught you well, young Padawan.
listen, this
Minions
styles
as
into what I
said.
was originally saying. Hold on for 1 second. For anybody that doesn't know, did we lose him? It's Tony Thorstad. If anybody needs a website, the guy's terrific at it. If anybody needs website AI, Mike Larkin's terrific at it. I'm not terrific at it, so I found Rhonda, who's a great marketer, and her daughter, who's a full stack. She's just brilliant. And I have a great website.
Exactly.
I'm not bragging about my website. You have dealers that you go to their website and every other link is broken, or the phone number on it isn't there, or there's snow on the car and it's July.
They don't eat their own dog food, man.
Page
Yeah.
under construction.
Right.
Missing video, missing pictures of the parts and service director.
I want to ask Tony a question if I could before we lose him.
Sure.
So, and I don't know if you know the answer, but Toyota's got 4 models of Camry. There's 6 models of Accords. Now, again, and I've shared the story before, but in the marine business, when I worked for MarineMax, who's the AutoNation of the marine world, they convinced Sea Ray, who was their primary brand, that you can't offer 20 different colors to people, right?
Yep.
So Toyota's success is saying 4 models, 6 colors, you know, and obviously they've got a formula that works. I don't think Honda subscribes to that, and maybe that's part of their issue.
Well, look
Let's
at
see.
So Jeff, just to touch on that, there's a Freakonomics episode if you get a chance to watch it. And the episode is about the number one retailer per square foot, dollars per square foot. And take a guess who that is, of all retailers, not just car dealers, but all
Apple.
retailers.
Apple or Tiffany.
Not Apple.
Costco.
Walmart.
Nope. Trader Joe's.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, that makes sense because their store's so little.
Well, what they found in their research is the more choices you give people, the less likely they are to make a decision. And so when you go to Trader Joe's and you take a look, they've got 2 types of pasta, not 20 types of pasta, right? They have the smallest stores, but they sell more per square foot than any other retailer, because what they did was they limited people's choices, and then they built a brand around Trader Joe's and the experience when you go into those stores. And so to answer your question, Jeff, Toyota woke up this year to this on the Camry, because last year they had 8 different models before the redesign. They had V6s, they had 4 cylinders, XSE, LE, XSE, down the line, all-wheel drive, right down the line. This year they woke up to it and they realized that they need to simplify their product. And so they have LE, XLE, SE, and XSE in the Camry, and they have one drivetrain, and it's a hybrid that's just a dynamite. But yeah, Toyota just woke up to this. But in other areas of Toyota, they haven't figured it out yet, and that would be in the Tacomas and the Tundras, and of course trucks. Manufacturers can't help themselves but complicate the way you can build a truck. They just love to screw that up.
Well, I always
Hey,
use the example.
Before we,
Yeah, go ahead.
and go ahead, I just want to throw one thing in.
Yeah.
The guy that originally pioneered this, then we'll go to Ian and Depth when you hear Doug. The original pioneer of the Trader Joe philosophy was Henry Ford. That car changed the world, and he famously said, you can have any color you want as long as it's black.
Oh, yeah.
Dark black, light black,
Yeah.
black.
Well, I remember years ago when I was talking to Rana before the show about this. I used to work for an Apple reseller in the early 90s. And this was before Steve Jobs came back. And they had so many computer models that it almost bankrupted the company. And the first thing he did is he says, okay, we're not making 20 versions of this and 30 versions of that and 6 other products that nobody wants and printers and this and that. No, we're going to make 4 products. That's it. There's no other products.
Did you notice Apple no longer makes the 27-inch?
Oh, they don't?
They
Okay.
only make a 24.
Yeah.
On the Mac. They let you go figure out.
I gotta hang on to
what
this
monitor.
27-incher.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I gotta go, guys. Good to see you. Have a good night.
Good night, Tony.
And I worked for
Just
Honda
leave.
for 10 years, and I would agree. Like, they had too many models. Like, you got salesmen who can't understand what a model is, and you got them trying to explain 10 models. Like,
Yeah, but it's worse,
Why?
it's worse for the customer because they get so confused, it kills decision making.
Yeah.
I see Doug on like, Doug, we always love and welcome your input, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, I'm no Nostradamus and cannot predict the future. The one thing that I've kind of heard in between a lot of people today is experience, customer experience. And I think as prices go up and as customers face more complicated decision making as to what to buy, how to figure out how to pay for it, I think dealers that lean into being able to truly dedicate their people to work with customers and provide a better consultative type experience are the ones that will be able to weather the storm of whatever price increases exist, whatever overstocked inventories there are. I'm hearing more and more on various outlets about the need to really focus on that. And you look at studies and customers are still frustrated. I think dealers that do that, that will focus on that, that will make it easier for their teams and easier for customers and be able to spend more time face to face and less time facing keyboards will be the ones that will probably weather the storm better. And I agree with the statement of, you know, locking online and in-store into one seamless experience, being able to address a customer no matter where they are. I think you're starting to see more dealers trying to lean into that, and I think those are the people that will get ahead. I think those are
Doesn't that mean management and dealership ownership embracing their people? Because if you don't make your staff feel well,
Yes.
if you don't make your staff feel like a part of the team, how the heck are they ever going to do it for anybody else?
Well, and that's totally true. There was a post today on LinkedIn by somebody about, you know, is comparing a bad culture that has one guy that sells a ton of cars and a bunch of people that don't, but that one guy's a jerk, versus a good culture where everybody's just selling, you know, 8-10 cars a month, and the good culture wins in the long run. Yeah, that's
Doug?
totally true.
But let me throw something at you. I've been to a lot of dealer 20 meetings, and
Mhm.
every once in a while somebody will pull me aside. They actually think I know what I'm doing. How I got those people for. And they'd say, Larry, what should I do? I got this one guy, and he's selling this many cars, but he's a jerk. Doug, it's crazy. Universally, when they get rid of that guy or girl, or they get rid of themselves, business gets better. It never gets worse.
Right.
Because the toxicity bleeds through, and if you're not paying attention, you see the numbers, but you don't see the overall effect and feel. It's the same concept if you're a GM, a GSM, an owner. How do you measure the new guy that's terrible, that wasn't trained, that takes 1 million ups and burns for it?
Right.
Cost you?
Well, and I think take it one step further. If it is going to be a challenging second half of the year, leadership is gonna have to convey a feeling of we're fine, everything's good. If they're going to be grousing, it's going to spread down to everybody, and ultimately the customer loses. So, I mean, everybody's going to have to try to find the silver lining in everything. And as you always say, I mean, you want to be doing this, or do you want to be like, you know, laying tar on a hot roof in the 110-degree heat? I mean, we've got it pretty good in this industry, all in all, and we all get paid pretty well, and it's a good place to be working. So, you know, count your blessings and just find the good in everything.
But it's also, Doug, to your point, if you're the dealer or you're the manager and you've got a bunch of really unhappy people because the one clown's ruining it for everybody, what does it say about you that you're not ejecting that fool? Like,
Exactly.
like what?
Exactly.
What are you doing? Like, what are you running here? You know. So
When you
No,
tolerate
you're right.
a bad employee, you affect every other employee.
No, totally, man. You cannot empower a jerk. You got to be able to harpoon the guy, get rid of him, and culture rules. Culture rules, and that's what dealers need to focus on.
I couldn't agree with you more. If you treat people, you know, listen, guys, we've discussed this before. One of the reasons that I appreciate every one of you and Russell and the people that are usually joining us is you're all authentic. I mean, I'm crazy, but I'm authentically crazy. Aren't we? Oh, there's my man, Paul Meyer. Paul, how are you, sir? We'll pull you right in.
Hold on a second.
Yes, sir.
Is he eating?
He's always eating.
All right. How you doing?
Paul, some of them weren't here when you were on the show
All right,
about a month
there we
ago. And I explained that if they ever convicted me of murder and I was on death row, when they said, "What's your last meal?" I'd say I went Paul Meyer to cater, because I'd stay alive for 3 more weeks. Of course, it's the stuff that you're thrown in.
I'm right in-
Brussels sprouts.
I'm right in the middle of my 3-hour dinner hour, and I get a special tasting menu tonight of the menu that's dropping tomorrow.
Live from Cleveland.
I don't mess with Paul Meyer. Paul, you got to be like the rest of us. You're an authentic guy. Everybody loves you. Aren't we all tired of people talking about their culture and how great it is? And you go to the store and you wonder, what were they talking about? This is the most miserable culture ever. Some of you may remember, we had a guy on the show a few times, and we're going to pull him into Career Changers. His name is Howard Gold. He's a dealer who used to own Meadowlands Nissan in Jersey. And
Oh,
this is
hold on, I gotta go. My the Bananas Foster tray is coming out. I had to capture the video.
I'm from Philadelphia. I'm eating
Me too.
tasty cake. You don't see me interrupt.
You missed your call on as a food critic.
All right, talk to you later.
Long story short, Ian Howard.
Yeah.
This is a good story, not a bad one.
Hey,
Hold on.
This is a good story, not a bad one. He's driving on the highway. He's got a Genesis, a GV70, and a car has an accident and flips around in front of him. And he said the safety features on the car were gorgeous. Everything went perfect. Thank God he's okay. But his light flashed before his eyes. You're on the highway and you're in a front end collision. So he went to try to find the same car. He didn't have to have it new. He really liked it. And he called a dealer and he immediately sent me the message. It was after hours. And basically, it was like when you go to people's messages and there's no message.
Yeah.
And it beeps or it doesn't. Again, we're not asking you to be a rocket scientist or Bill Gates or Einstein, but you would like to believe. I mean, I'm the worst guy on the show, but I would call when we had our little things up or our ads or I'd be the first guy to look at it and say, "You misspelled this," or we sold. It just boggles my mind that these dealerships, and now they're way more expensive to run, way more. But if you're not paying attention to the little details, the big details just fall apart. And Jeff, the culture, Jeff Shearer and I became instant buddies. You've heard this story, reached out to me to help his son. His son did something else. Then we met in Vegas with Ian Nethercott. Man, we bonded forever. Not for a while. We've been unbelievable friends since then. It wasn't that hard. The guy's a great guy. His son's just as great. I reached out and you reached out. Is this complicated?
No.
When you realize what it costs to get a customer to walk into a dealership, what it gets to cost them to buy, and how much revenue they can bring in to sales, service, how many repeats and referrals they can get you, how can we still have bad websites? How can we still not see role play? And guys, I'm not being facetious. I love it. Because until I decide I don't want to do this and I'm having more fun than anybody, I'll always be busy. Because these dealerships are horrible. The salespeople don't know how to greet you. They don't know how to look you in the eye. Nobody appreciates how great they have it, how everything's an opportunity. So it's just interesting to me that at this point, so many people haven't embraced what's in front of them. That we have to nurture our staff, nurture their customers.
We
Let me
had a
ask you a
comment.
question,
We had
Larry.
a comment from
Yeah.
Dan Williams: breeding toxicity, not fair to your team or the person who needs to move on. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah, go
Well,
ahead. Go ahead.
I had a question. So, as you're seeing this younger generation come in, and I work with.
No, wait a minute. Do you expect free advice? Because you wouldn't believe what I
No,
charge Bill
no,
Gates for his little twisted around.
No, I'm not looking for advice. I'm actually. I'm
Treatment.
taking a shot. I'm taking a shot that you might have some sage wisdom, but I know that's probably a crapshoot at best. So let's go for it.
For sure.
So, as you're seeing this younger generation, because I work with some kids that are young, I call them the kids because they're literally a generation below me.
Right.
What I see is their ability to engage with people interpersonally, to write salient emails, to formulate solid videos is like worthless because they spend so much time staring at their phone and texting that the thought of an interpersonal communication is like foreign to them. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing that there's a different challenge
I'll
with the
give
younger
this on.
generation?
I'm glad you asked me that. I read an article recently, a well-written article, not a political one, a well-written, well-researched article that talks about how a huge chunk of our advancement in education has disappeared by typing into a screen rather than writing cursive. And that the way they're teaching people and the way that they're embracing things is killing their brain. And Doug, the scary part is it's going to get worse with AI. You're already having college professors say, I know in a second when it's AI. The guy couldn't put two sentences together. Now he sounds like Shakespeare. So I am seeing it. And it's sad. Doug, you hear me say it all the time, and everybody laughs, but it's true. You go into restaurants these days, there's four people at the table, they're all on their iPhone.
Yes.
And again, when I was with Jeff Shearer at AIM, they'll back me up, I'm not fibbing. My phone rang 92 times. I had jobs all over. I answered it, I said, no problem, send me your resume, hung up, went right back to telling a joke or doing something. So you're 100% right, and it's scary for our society. Because when we fail to communicate, can I tell you a story, Doug? I'm not making, this sounds crazy, but I'm not making it up. I was on a show, it wasn't Ian's, it wasn't mine. It was a show, and somebody invited me on, they said, what's your opinion? No problem. And I said that I think the secret to being successful in the future is to stand out as a human being because we're so used to robots and machines. And a guy said to me, Larry, I love you, but I don't think you're being realistic. He wasn't being nasty. I says, what do you mean? He says, you don't understand what's going on with this younger generation. And I said, well, elaborate. He said, my daughter is really smart. She's not stupid. She's really smart. And she got a check from her grandmother. Now, he didn't say it, whether it was his mother or his wife's mother, for graduate something. And the check was for like $7,000. Pretty nice grandma, huh? The girl had a problem. She couldn't take a picture with her phone and deposit it because it was over the $5,000 limit. And her father, thinking the way I would think, said, it's no problem. The bank's 2 blocks away. They'll give you a deposit slip deposit. She says, I can't do that. I'm going to call grandma and ask her to write the 2 checks. So we're really,
that's it. That's it in a nutshell. I mean, all this technology is, you have sources to learn, to find information, but that doesn't mean you learned it. It just means you found it. And people don't know how to.
Doug,
They can't think, they can't rationalize, they're losing.
Doug, they can't think critically or creatively.
Right.
Because they're not used to engaging. Listen. I know I seem a little nutty, but I research everything. I pride myself that I'm not perfect, but I know my history, I know my religion, I know my music. I'm the guy you want on a trivia show. Astonishingly enough, it's like, oh, it's on the internet, it must be true. The shallowness of what they look at. Think about it. Listen, you guys know I'm a musician, I love music. The musicians that I love, thank God they came when they did, they would have never made it. Bob Dylan would have never made it. He doesn't sound like he's singing at a Broadway show, and that's what you see with the new bands. Janis Joplin wasn't attractive enough. They want these women that look like supermodels. And the patience, Doug, if you're not a music fan, this won't burn you up the way it burned me up. Eric Clapton was very briefly in a band called Blind Faith. He was with one of the most coveted musicians in Britain, a guy named Steve Winwood. Everybody wanted to play with Steve Winwood. He's great on every instrument, he really is. His solo albums were all him. Unbelievable singer. Jeff, we were talking a while back about guys like Paul Rodgers. He might have a better voice than Paul Rodgers. The guy was astonishing. Mm-hmm. So they did one album, they broke up, they had Ginger Baker, Rick Gretsch. Long story short, they did a tour a couple of years ago. Now, they sat down and played Can't Find My Way Home. Just Clapton and Winwood. It was like being a Catholic and seeing the Pope. And these two morons, and I don't mean to get any mail from the Anti-Defamation League for morons that I'm equating with them, were talking. And being the patient guy that I am, I said, would you do me a favor and shut the F up? It's Eric Clapton and Steve Winwood. You're not going to see this again. Our patience is gone. Our concept of interacting with people is gone. The smart. Listen, Doug, again, I'm just thanking you. You started me at this.
Oh,
People apply for jobs this quick. You never saw me respond quicker than we do. It's frightening. And I'll say, you look great. Call me. What do? They text me. I want to hear
Right.
the character voice. Nope. The concepts are alien to them. The ability to engage is alien to them. It kind of makes you fear for what's coming, because if people can't think creatively or think critically, we're kind of in trouble as a society.
not only that, but the work ethic is not, all that generation seems to want is 20-minute apps, but they're not willing to work to get anything. And when a problem comes up, you know that you should call the person and let's figure out a solution. No, they'd rather text them because they can't handle a face-to-face or a person-to-person conversation. It drives me nuts.
Well, look at Doug. Look at. I mean,
Hey, let me just figure this out, and I'll defer. Rhonda is a masochist. She enjoys pain. She's one of the most organized, meticulous people and marketers you'll ever meet in your life. So she hooked up with the Tasmanian Devil Jets. You see these Larry talks? These are not carefully scripted. This is while I drive erratically through traffic. She says, "How about this topic?" Great, and I wing it. And one of the topics that we did dials right into what you're talking about. You'll see it shortly. That if you're not digging a little deeper, if you're not looking to engage, we talked about, and I'll shut up. Part of this.
well, I mean,
We talked. Wait a minute. We talked about that. It's the journey rather than the destination.
Yeah.
Jeff Shearer, Doug Reeves, Mike Larkin, everybody on this darn show. You built something. You worked together. And it feels so good. Sometimes you hear people that hit the top and they say they enjoyed it more on the way up. Trying to get it, having a goal, making it make sense. And when you lose the concept, and it's fun to work, it's fun to roll your sleeves up, it's fun to sweat a little bit, you're really in trouble because Dougie's right. You just get instant gratification. I've been here 2 months. When am I going to be a vice president?
Right.
well, yeah, Doug.
I didn't
Like,
even know.
I sometimes watch these. What would I call them? Undereducated, educated people try and argue with people who actually know what the hell they're talking about. And the thing that makes me laugh about it isn't that they're trying to argue with these luminaries, Jordan Peterson, pick your person who actually knows what the fuck they're talking about. And they always have the same argument. And it's like, listen, like, you're not arguing with the person who's a moron. Like, maybe watch some of the other arguments and, like, I don't know, do something different. But they're shocked when they get beaten down. And it's like, all you're doing is referencing a bunch of stuff on the internet, trying to tie it together with no common thread at all. And then you're challenging a guy who knows what he's talking about and doesn't need to look it up. And you're shocked when you get beat down. It's like, learn something. There's actually a school teacher. I think he has a YouTube channel now. Anyway, he got fired because he was trying to teach students how to build arguments based on critical thinking. And they fired him because they're like, oh no, we that's too toxic. That's not in line with our philosophy. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm here to teach people how to live in the real world. And that means building an argument and understanding how to put it together and maybe disagreeing with someone else. And that's the challenge, is it's from the education on down. And what scares me is, to your point with AI, and I did a degree a couple of years ago, and at that time they had a bunch of these resources where they could see if you plagiarized. But I don't think any of these people are really, who are doing that with AI, are learning anything. Like, learning how to prompt something, that's not learning something. That's like, okay.
So now,
You know what the problem?
Take all of this and wrap it into, this is what dealers are dealing with. So what's the solution? Because we still got to run dealerships, and this is the type of people coming in.
So solution is congratulations, you got that useless basket weaving degree. You know, you got a debt for it. Great. You finished high school. Wonderful. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start you at the bottom and we're going to teach you this business. I mean, when I got into the car business 25 years ago, even though I had a family history in the business, I worked 7 days a week to learn the business. I didn't know anything about the car business. I knew something about sales and I had a degree, but you know, when I first started working, it was like, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to learn? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. The problem today is, oh, I got this degree. Now I should be the general manager of a dealership. No. You know, like, well, what are you talking about?
Everybody's point is so valid, but we're getting to the point where nobody wants to learn anything because all the answers are in AI, taking from the earliest learnings up until today. So you can tap into the mind of a Tony Robbins and
Maybe
a Larry Feldman and match it up, if you're an F&I, with a mind like Gary Sullivan. Or to tie it all together with the communication of a Jeff Shearer and putting it all into a website as far as conversions with Rhonda's knowledge or Doug's knowledge of reputation. We don't want to learn anything, and we don't have to learn anything. That's what this point is leading up to. Is the answers are all there, but the key is to get the answers. You need to be smart enough
You know,
to ask the question.
Well,
Get the answer.
He's just scared about living bejeepers.
well,
out of you.
think about the pig. Think about that.
Where is it?
Larry's gone, and once Jeff is gone and you're gone, who's the next Larry? There is no next Larry because nobody thinks like that
Well,
anymore.
you know, and I kind of fight this argument too, because I 100% agree that students, you know, want to take the easy way out. And I think car salesmen, I want to do the least amount of work to make the most amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jeff, do you know when it started?
You can't really fault them for that.
No. But do you know when it started?
Participation
Ready?
trophies.
You ready? Nope.
The paper clip on the Microsoft Word.
You know when it started? It started with Cliff Notes.
Yep.
Hey, I'm in college. Instead
Yep.
of reading a masterpiece by a great writer, let me just skim it to know what the salient parts are so I can write a term paper.
Yeah.
And now,
This is like you go to see the Rolling Stones and you go, you know what? Yeah, Satisfaction's what give me. Let me hear 3 songs in the middle. I'll go to a restaurant.
But
Name that tune.
my argument, and again, and Mike and I were just talking before this earlier today, and you know, we're unicorns, man. But my whole life, and it's just my personality, is that I'm a freaking sponge. I want to learn new stuff every day.
Yep.
And you know what? AI keeps me on the cutting edge of that because I'm trying to figure out how to stitch these things together. And Mike, same thing, you know, and how do we leverage and take advantage of the AI and stuff that's out there? Because, you know, we talked about this before. Everybody's got one of these, you know. AI is
What
this.
the hell is that?
It's a scientific calculator, Texas Instruments.
But Jeff,
You have a core. You have a core that you're basing it on. You are
Yeah.
expanding upon the
But
educational core.
but you're not taking. But wait a minute, Brian.
even
It's
before
not
I
taking.
had-
But you're not taking AI and saying this is it.
Right,
You're looking at AI, extracting what you can, and building on it. And
right.
it's dangerous, whether you're conservative, liberal, whatever religion, to just blindly follow whatever you hear. When we lose the reasoning part of, let me think about that. Do I really believe that? Is that really true? Without that, we're in trouble as a
It's
race.
all how you apply the tool, you know?
Sure.
It's all how you apply it.
Well,
And you know what? I didn't have a cell phone much before the time I started at AutoNation. And then all of a sudden, cell phones were my business because I was managing the internet sales department, you know, and that I just said, wow, we can use phones to make sales. And, you know, I built my life and my career on that everywhere I've gone and what I'm doing now. So it's really just repurposing and purposing the tools that are available. And just like Mike said, man, stuff gets better in AI every day. Every day. You know, I'm working with bots now to do, you know, answer and stuff too. And they're so finicky, man. You know, and the more direction you give them, the worse they are. Because you're not letting them do their thing. And that's contrary to what you would think.
Well, it's like if you had spell check, write your document. Like, why?
If I'm gonna build a robot, I'm gonna tell it how to do every single thing. Well, AI says, no, man, let me do my thing. I'm great
And then it kills you.
on my feet, just like Larry. I'm great on my feet.
But think
don't
about
think-
manufacturing. Think about manufacturing robots for making cars. Okay, they come out of the box. They're manufacturing. You got to teach it how to do all this stuff, and sometimes it doesn't do it right. And that's fine if you're making one car or one panel. But when you're making hundreds of thousands a day, that's a different problem. But the difference, I think, is that you've got the young people who didn't learn it in the first place.
That's right.
And now they're going, well, you know, that's what AI said. It's similar to what I heard
Yeah.
like 5 years ago. They were saying, oh, that's what's on the internet. Okay, yeah, there's lots of shit on the internet, most of which I don't agree with, but fine, I guess.
If Mike Larkin and I can figure out how to connect that robot to ChatGPT, and you just tell it what you want it to do, boom, it's done. You didn't have to sit there and train it with 10 million pages of documents.
God bless the world if I'm teaching that robot.
But to your point, I mean, it's if you're not learning, if you're in high school today and you're not learning math, you're not learning arithmetic, you're not learning history, you don't really know how to speak to people, you're on your cell phone even in class, the teacher's checked out trying to figure out what crazy idea they're going to promote today. You know, what's that going to look like in 10 years when those kids have to, you know, get a job, have a paycheck, be responsible, you know, I don't know, contribute something, you know, I mean, like, well, what's that going to look like?
I'm also building training bots where salespeople can call and they can do a role play with people that want to buy cars, want to buy trailers, want to, you know, make dental appointments. They do a role play with the bot. And then the bot gives them feedback at the end of the conversation and says, Ian, here's 2 things you did really, really well. And here's 1 thing we need to work on. Talk to you in a week. And then you do the same thing, but it changes up a little bit. But we're doing this thing called repetitive learning. Okay. Where we test you today. And Larry, I've kind of floated this idea out to him. I'm going to videotape the 5 hours Larry stands up in front of the group at the dealership. I'm going to transcribe that. When Larry leaves a dealership, he's going to send a link to everybody that was there with a test.
Yeah.
Okay, multiple choice.
Oh, great idea.
Multiple choice. They're gonna pick it. Larry's gonna know, oh, this guy got it, this guy didn't. Maybe I need to call the guy that didn't, have a little conversation. 2 weeks later, we're gonna test them again, but we're gonna change the questions a little bit. Right? Now we know who got it and who didn't. So now we can prove to that dealer that the people absorbed what Larry taught them. And you know what? If they didn't, they're going to bring Larry back anyway.
Yeah. but you're right. It gives them an easy, this is who I hire. Right?
No, I mean, I've been listening to a lot of these
What a great idea.
outbound, inbound sales bots, and they're getting a lot better. I mean, they're not perfect, but when you compare them to a person doing that with no training or minimal training and not a lot of skills. I mean, but my concern is when you don't have to learn the skills in the first place, what are you going to be good at?
My bot's built that 1,000% at the plate every time.
Yeah.
Show me a human that can do that.
Yeah.
And that's not doesn't mean they're bad. And Larry and you guys all probably know some that do.
Yeah.
You know, they're on the top of the chart every dealership.
Well, that's assuming that the people that they're training want to be trained and want to learn, and
There you go.
that's the
There
next
you go.
question.
Well, and it's interesting. I'll close it because I know we're near the top. So I went to CX Auto. There was a ton of conversation about AI this, AI that. And I appreciated the president of an AI company who said, look, all this AI is great, but in the end, it's the interpersonal relationship that's going to sell the car. And you can't forget that.
Right.
Agreed.
We're in the people business still, Larry,
Bullseye.
all the time.
I want to know eventually, before I die, how Larry has conducted classes and all around the country, and not one cell phone is in front of his students.
Michael,
How do you do
before
that?
I was at today, I said, I was trying to explain to them that if you make it fun and if you engage people, time disappears. And they were very receptive. And I said to a guy, do me a favor, because his phone was turned around. I appreciate that. He couldn't see it. I said, don't turn your phone around. How long do you think I've been speaking? He says, oh, about 15 minutes. I said, turn your phone around. It was an hour and 20 minutes. If we make it fun, when I go into these classes, everybody, my goal is to make myself better, make them better, have some fun. And that's really what I want to try to do. And that's what comes through. If I acted like it was just a job, it's no big deal. Again, it's enjoying the journey. If you enjoy the journey, you'll get to the destination. And when you get there, you'll feel more fulfilled. That's the saddest thing. That some of these kids, like I said, with Cliff Notes, why should I read Shakespeare? This will sum it up. Well, maybe read it because he's Shakespeare. And if we can dig back in and explain to people how great it feels to accomplish things because you've earned them rather than they were given to you, which always leads to a feeling of dissatisfaction, even if it's not your frontal lobe, it's there. And just make people understand how important it is and how fulfilling it is to smile at people, to listen, to shake your hand. Listen, with enough folks like us out there pushing and enough people that we can influence, we'll make some kind of difference. We just can't get cynical and we can't give up.
Just one last, and then everyone's closing up. The state of New Hampshire has added curriculum back into the high schools of bringing back the trades. So exactly what you're talking about is you have to engage these young men and women in things that they want to learn. And what they've found very clearly is teaching them skills and trades, teach them how to run lives like good, normal people that raise families that do well in the community. So there's a lot to be said. We're in a shift. Technology is coming, but you still need people to manage the AI. But the AI, oh my goodness, the stuff that AI has been doing for what Mike and I and Larry and everybody, it's amazing.
Yep.
And you just got to utilize it and learn and try to harness it to your skills. I mean, it's your skills. Mike's trying to train me on ChatGPT. I'm comfortable on Google Gemini. Oh, okay, use what you want. But boy, when I can learn from Mike and say, just talk in what your mission, vision, and value is, and then it can help you correlate how you want to market yourself and then how you want to reach. That's this value of AI. So wonderful. It is the second half, boy. We did a lot of hard work, a lot of heavy lifting the first half. Preparation, emails, we visited. So second half, boy, anybody who wants some new ideas and new technology, and they're watching this show, there's plenty of skills in this show that can bring a lot of changes in their dealerships, converting their leads, building funnels through their websites, and training their people how to be good people. So you need it all. And the great news is now that the EV mandates have been dragged down, we can get back to selling cars and give the customer, if they want an EV, wonderful. If they want a diesel, wonderful. Give them what they want. And so we'll see some changes. The tariff, I'm tired of hearing the tariff, but it's doing things that we want. We want to collectively keep it in our home and sell our cars, American made, and why not? Beautiful thing. We should all benefit from that. So wonderful being with everybody tonight. Good seeing everybody.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate you, and this was a really nice, lively conversation. Thank you all so much for your input. We
Good night,
appreciate it.
everybody.
Good night.
Adios.
Sick week.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys.
Yeah, Ian, I made your host, so you